to say it's great to be here. And, you know, the work you're doing is, I'm sure there are days where it feels like it's pretty hard work. But we are in Ottawa right now, we think, making a really big difference for our country because of so many people like you who made a difference for so many of us who ran for office just a year and a half ago. And I'll tell you, it just doesn't happen without volunteers, knocking on doors, entering data, you know, calling people who might or might not know that the date of the election is coming up soon, and just basically making a real difference. So the first thing I'd like to say to all of you here is thank you so much for what you're doing for Haley and Scott. I know, and I don't know who's got more volunteers here right now. But I'd love to tell you a little bit about how it's going right now in Ottawa, some of the things we're working on, and some of the things that we're hoping that Haley and Scott will be part of when they win. So, you know, as you know, I brought out the budget last week for the country, and in my estimation, it's gone quite well. But I'd like to give you a sense of what we're trying to achieve. I mean, this budget was really for us not really just a one-day event. It's really about the last year and a half and what's going to be for the next 2.5 years, what we're trying to achieve for the country. And it really started from the very first day, thinking about how do we deal with the fact that so many Canadians feel like the opportunity for them and for their children isn't as good as it used to be. So a sense that, you know, the rewards from growth are not going to all Canadians. That's essentially what animated our campaign, just a sense of middle-class anxiety, just a worry that what was working since World War II was a sense that each generation is doing better than the next generation. So if you're raising kids, you could say, you know, my kids are going to be able to get a job as good as mine or maybe better. And they're going to have more opportunities for their kids than they'll even have. And that was sort of the magic of Canada. But the challenge has been for the last decade, we haven't seen the growth that we need to see in order to make that actually come true, to make that a reality. So we said, you know, when you don't see the growth, people feel anxious about the future. They worry that it's not going to be there for them. And so the first thing we did when we came into office is said we need to deal with making sure that people can see the benefits for them and their family. So you start off by saying, you know, what are we going to do? So we lowered taxes on middle-class Canadians, and we raised them on the top 1%. And the idea was, you know, we really needed to show middle-class Canadians that there's opportunity here for them and for their children. And when we changed the Canada Child Benefit, it was vastly more impactful because we said, you know, we can take 3 different benefits and we can put them together and we can actually make a really material difference for your family, for example, because what we said is for 9 out of 10 families, they can get a significantly larger amount of money for their families. And when you do the math, when you think about what on average $2,300 after tax is for a family that might be thinking about, you know, do I have enough money for skates for the winter, or, you know, I'm worried about getting my kids new clothes for going back to school, or just maybe even having the kind of food that you want to have, it can have a really big impact. So that was the first thing we did. And so this now, last week, was really about now that people feel more confident, and by the way, they do, because what's happened over the last year is unemployment's gone down in this country. So I know in Alberta, it's been particularly challenging, although even Alberta, it's ticked up a little bit over the last 7 months, but it's been particularly challenging. But across the country, we're starting to see unemployment go down. We're starting to see more creation of new jobs. So people are starting to feel a little bit better. So what we're doing this year is, it's about the long-term vision. It's about, you know, how are we going to make sure that people have access to the skills and the training that they need to get the great jobs? Because we know that people are looking to how can they be part of exciting opportunities, but maybe they need a bridge from here to there. So we put much more money into training for people. We've done some things that make it much easier for families. So we extended the ability for people on employment insurance to take a longer parental leave. You know, we changed things that are making it easier for families because we know that's what enables people to actually go out and get the training that they need for that next job. So we're on a long-term plan, and I'll tell you that having new MPs, people who could actually be part of that, is an enormously important part of what we're trying to achieve. When they go out and talk to people, and when you go out and talk to people, what we need to be telling people in these areas is that we're in for the long haul. So we're not going to be a Liberal Party for 4 years in government. We're going to be a Liberal Party for 8 or 12 years in government. So if you're sitting in Calgary and you're thinking about who you want representing us, you can say, do you want the person who's sitting across from the government, screaming and yelling and making no impact? Or do you want the people who are going to be sitting with the government and saying, these are the kind of things we can do for people to make their lives better? Yeah. To me, that is the fundamental message that you need to be bringing out there. It may be that it's a hard slog in ridings where you've got sort of iconic conservatives who were there before, and it is. Iconic's not always a good word, by the way. But even though it's a hard slog, and even though people might have that bias, I mean, you need to ask them legitimately, so what good does it do to send someone to Ottawa who's not going to be doing anything for you? They're just going to be, screaming and yelling. They're not going to do anything. They're literally not going to be able to make a change. When they come to the government and say, this is what we want to do, we'll say, well, that's fine, but we have a different agenda. So if you have people who are actually on the team, they can be part of the agenda for the future. So I know that there's probably days where you go home and say, did I make progress today? But I'll tell you, we have people like Amarjeet Sohi in Edmonton who won by 80 votes. And he's now our Minister for Infrastructure, and he's making a big difference. So every day when you think, one more day, there's not that many more days to start with, and those extra doors you knock on, those extra phone calls you make on the get out the vote, those extra people that you get to vote, it might just turn the tide on making a difference. So I just want to thank all of you for what you're doing and tell you that all of us in Ottawa are really honored to be representing you. I mean, it's a really exciting opportunity to try and make a difference for our country, and we think we're making the traction, but we continue to need the support in order to do it. So thank you. And Haley and Scott, I know, let's see the bottom of your shoes. Are you wearing them out? The trick is, if they have all my shoes are new because of the budget. Oh, not their shoes are supposed to be worn out at least by next week. You got to make sure there's no soles in your shoes. Yeah. So anyway, it's really great to be here. So good luck over the next week, and we'll look forward to welcoming you on Parliament Hill soon. Thank you so much.